Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Valley of the Judged. Almost screwed it up there. I am your one and only gaming monk, better known as Mildra, and with me I have two of my good brothers and sisters. We have the Seeker of the Wanderers Library and the person who I seem to bane as much as Zan banes me on a weekly basis. Good brother Sig.
Hey, it's good training. I mean, I could always use the skill checks.
and the resident goblin energy of the Valley of the Judged, good sister Tabby.
I have very good tea.
What kind of tea, if you don't mind me asking?
Countess Grey tea. It came from Britain.
If it's British tea, don't let Chris Jericho near it.
It was my brother bought it for me when he went to Europe. So
yeah, I had to make the joke about the unholy things that Jericho's done to William Regal's tea back in 2001.
Oh, that's not right.
It's like when people ask me, didn't you go too far with some of those stunts? I'm like, no, there is no too far.
No. In fact, you would almost argue that you didn't go far enough.
So, we are back covering the penultimate class for Draw Steel. Last week, obviously, we had the one-shot, and I think of the Fire Emblem games that Fire Emblem TTRPG attempts, Heroes of Light is the closest to getting it right. I think it needs to go a little bit further, but that's just me. Now,
yeah, but like I said last week, it seems more like a skirmish type game, like a miniatures war game type thing, more so than a actual RPG.
When you're trying to emulate Fire Emblem, you kind of have to do that. But
yeah,
and I will admit, one of my pet peeves is when I see people claim that a given RPG feels too much like a board game or a war game. I saw that with the Blasphemous Quick Start from yesterday, which just confuses the hell out of me. And
I'll have to take a look at that.
a big reason I make fun of that kind of complaint is no one can ever quantify exactly what they mean with it. So what the hell am I supposed to do with that? It was like when people said that, um, fourth edition didn't have enough role playing mechanics. But when asked, okay, what do you mean by role playing mechanics? They would never say it. And if the issue is, well, it focuses so much on combat, that's been a thing since day one.
Well, and if you're gonna make that kind of like allegation on it, that just means you have a bad DM. I'm just saying, because you can make anything, even if it's based around combat, be not based around combat.
Well, a lot of people hadn't even played, and it showed. But they were just looking at the rules straight and making that claim. And for me, it's a case of what exactly can I do? What exactly can I do with that when you can't even define it yourself? Are you all familiar with Hitchin's Razor?
I'm familiar with Occam's razor.
Hitchens' razor was put forth, but was coined by the late great Christopher Hitchens. God, I miss him. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, and that which is asserted without evidence can be dismissed without evidence.
My evidence that this is the best tea I've ever drank is in my cup right now, and I am drinking it.
Well, fortunately, you're not going to make the mistake that some of my colleagues do when it comes to putting monk fruit in their tea.
I have sugar cubes. It's just the perfect amount of sugar. Don't have to guess.
I've told this story before, but some people they add monk fruit like it's sugar, and then act surprised that it ends up being way too strong. Like you only need a pinch of that stuff. But we're not here to talk about that.
I don't trust anything that's, not sugar at this point, because I can't have corn, and everything has corn. So
monk fruit isn't corn. I don't know where you got that idea.
Because everything is corn. Oh my god. Anyway, that's a whole nother story.
But tonight we are getting into the talent. And I talked about this weeks ago when we were covering the overview of the classes. The talent is analogous to the scion, or the psychic, whatever you'd want to say is equivalent. And I talked about the ranger being a cursed job. The scion is probably the cursed archetype, because at least with the ranger, with some entries you can say, oh, okay, it had some improvements, or some cases where it actually worked. The scion is so infamous that even having one at certain tables gets you thrown out. That is the level of infamy we're dealing with when it comes to the scion.
It seems like most games can't even get the scion right.
I don't even want to talk about scions right now.
But
and Sig knows why.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not even going to bring that up.
So they have their origins in AD&D First Edition. And I'm specifically referring to the D&D version of it because, Drawsteel is drawing from 4E quite a lot. And yes, this is even the Scion is another one of those cases where the best version of it is in the edition I'm supposed to hate. You'll figure that if I had a nickel for every time that happened, I'd have 3 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that happened thrice.
Yes.
And for those who are wondering what the other takes were that had that, it was the monk and the ranger. So during character creation, you'd roll a D100 to see if you had psychic potential. If you got a 99 or 100, congratulations, you now have psionic abilities. This meant that you got some extra spell casting that didn't require spell books or fates. And I know some people in the grogs like to say that you need to have faith in a god in order to be using divine magic. To which I say, we all know that you are running a Jedi character at least once, and there is no god of the Force.
And again, I know I mentioned this at one point with you, Mildra, but I also would liken that to the Paladins of Azeroth.
Mm-hmm. The Paladins of Azeroth follow the light rather than a specific deity.
Mm-hmm.
Especially since calling upon the gods in Azeroth is generally something that's not a good idea.
Oh, yeah.
Do you want to die?
I mean,
That's how you die.
best case scenario, you just die. Worst case scenario, you end up bringing up one of those old dragons, like Deathwing. And we all know what happened there.
Yep.
Now, Scions in AD&D First had a whole battle system dedicated just to them that was invisible to anyone who wasn't a psionic. So think of the psychic detective scene in South Park. Oh
God.
They had their own combat matrix, which always had one attack and defense. It was on the GM screen, so you could effectively do the dumbest version of rock paper scissors. There were 5 attacks and defenses, which sounds like an interesting idea, but putting that in AD&D was a terrible move. Only one of them could affect non-psychics, and at that point you may as well just cast Feeble Mind or punch someone. Everyone else just stands around while the psionics are fighting each other that they can't see and can't hear. So again, it is like that psychic battle in South Park.
Yep.
Supposedly Gygax didn't want psychics in the book, but it was pushed by some of the other people at TSR. And I remember when I talked with Ernie, God rest his soul. It said they tried to make it work, it just didn't work. But looking back at it, I'm like, did you really try? Did you? And that was an AD&D first edition. So if you think that's bad, it's only going to get worse. Much like
and don't even get started on the homebrews.
I'm not addressing the homebrews here. If I do that, we're going to be here all week.
Nope.
Yeah, we don't have that kind of time, unfortunately.
Still grumpy about that. Nope.
But second edition AD&D introduced the complete books of psionics, which introduced the psionicist class, which was a dedicated thing instead of psionics being an add-on. This was the precursor to the psion as we would know it. Still used the psychic combat mechanics. At least in terms of how it worked. It was a clunky-ass mess, but you could use it effectively. You just had to be full munchkin with it. Because a scion in AD&D second could cast things like teleportation, summon extraplanar creatures, banishing to pocket dimensions. They just couldn't do raw damage. All your attack powers only did 1 die of damage, regardless of how much you augmented it. But one of the spells you could get early on was Disintegrate.
Yikes.
When I say early on, I mean I think under 5th level you could get it. No, I have to correct myself. You could get Disintegrate at level 3 if you did things right. Did it
Okay then. No.
Did you have to burn through most of your points to use it? Yes. But at the same time, it's fucking Disintegrate. In 2nd edition. You know, the big save or die bullshit.
Yes, you could also do Disintegrate with a Kobold in 3.5, says Brind.
I will get to that. Oh. And he brings up 5th, and I will get to that too. But you know, this is third level Disintegrate, where it is the literal save or die, and this is the same Disintegrate that made Beholders a pain in the ass. I know some people like to say that the save or die thing built character. No, it didn't. It was bullshit.
No,
it was bullshit.
Just pissed a lot of people off.
And why do you think everybody hates the damn mimics in Dark Souls? Same principle.
I hated the freaking Beholders in Shadow of Mystara too, because they could one-shot you.
Mm-hmm. But then Psionics would get altered further when Skills and Powers would come out, which I do have that book. And it would also be bundled in the revised version of Dark Sun, which I'm going to play Negrodamus at this point. Wizards of the Coast will never release a 5e version of Dark Sun.
Or they will, but it'll just be really, really watered down.
No, they're not going. They will never do it. Though, it does amuse me that some people were making a big deal out of and this is a side note. Some people were making a big deal out of a rumor that Weiss and Hickman were working on something for WotC, and I was like, that's a damning statement, because when's the last time a wholly new setting was introduced as a first-party thing?
God, I can't even name one.
Because the core setting is trying to be Forgotten Realms. Every other setting that's come out is a setting that has had an appearance in the past. You know, Ravenloft through both Curse of Strahd and then the Guide to Ravenloft book.
Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft.
That Eberron, Ravnica. I know some people might say the MTG settings like Ravnica and Theros, but they were already settings in Magic the Gathering. And when it came to the Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica by that point was massively overexposed. Like, most settings don't get maybe lucky if they get one return. Ravnica had 3. And you know, the legacy of there was that one Dragonlance book, which Dragonlance has been around a while, obviously.
Yep.
And eventually they did Spelljammer after a bit of a controversy, but again, I think it's the fact that anybody who could make their own setting is doing so third party, probably making more money that way.
And then getting bought out by WotC. Looking at you, freaking Ghostfire.
I don't think Ghostfire get bought out. I don't remember that. They're still doing their own Kickstarters.
I just remember seeing them on D&D Beyond and having their material up there. Ghostfire and I think Hit Point Press.
Yeah, but those are 2 of the bigger third-party folks. So I think that was still when D&D Beyond was owned by Phantom. So it's more of a holdover thing. And Mario brings up, speaking of Psionics, 4 went out for Dark Sun. I remember somebody was going to do a third-party equivalent of Dark Sun, and then it just disappeared. But getting back to Skills and Powers and the Dark Sun box set, power use got streamlined to be a lot easier. So instead of this weird ass power score, you had to target a C for each power, as well as a Thaco used for Psionic that scaled off level. On the other hand, it's still Thaco, so I still don't like it. This made using powers easier, but it also meant that using psychics became straight up combat instead of a separate thing, and attack modes and defenses were changed from a power setup to free proficiencies. So it was a bit rock paper scissors still, but it wasn't as much of a time draw. To illustrate what I mean by this time draw issue, consider the problem that ends up happening with the hacker concept in a lot of cyberpunk games. And Brian says Echo makes it easier. First time I've heard that without jest. I'm grading on a curve here, which, considering what there was before, just moving it over into its own Thaco is an improvement technically, but it's not hard to improve on garbage. But on the other hand, once you could drain them of points, psionic attack modes could do a lot of damage, or inflict debuffs that were unsavable, and they were more effective against targets without psionics. So it was better, but still a mess. Is that a rumor, or is Watsi not that desperate? I think it's more of there's nobody there who could really do Dark Sun, and there's all these shenanigans going about within Hasbro that is going to prevent them from taking that kind of risk. Hasbro's lost a lot of money over the last few years, not just because of the OGL fiasco, but other fuck-ups, like what's happened with Power Rangers over the last few years, and losing out on a lot of the staff that made MLP relevant, and most definitely losing a lot of goodwill with all the shit that's happened with Transformers over the last few years.
Oh god.
With the latter most part, I'm not an expert when it comes to how the toys have done. But it has not been good. There was that infamous packaging thing that was a glorified steal me button, just because they wanted to save money on plastic.
Mm-hmm.
Along with a bunch of other problems. It was to the point where knockoffs had higher quality. But then we get to third edition. So we had the Psionics splat book with the Psionics handbook in 3.0. It was a fucking mess. It introduced both a psionic system and a psionic combat system, much like AD&D first. Why? Why would you bring back the worst part? And to make it even worse, that psionic combat system required all 6 of your ability scores to be decent.
So above 13, got it.
Which I think a few weeks back I did explain to you MAD, or multiple ability dependency.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is the worst case of that, because different approaches require different ability scores. Now the system was, psionic characters were point-based spellcasters. Psionic powers didn't level up, mostly. Instead, the character would spend power points, which was basically MP, to increase an effect. Other players raged about this because if you give something interesting to anything that's not a mage, people are gonna rage, especially back then. But some people hated it because psionic characters could turn themselves into glass cannons and screw over encounters if they wanted to. Though a lot of the complaints were from people who didn't even read the damn book. Go figure. Because a lot of people skipped over the fact that you were capped on how much points you could spend based on your level. So you could not dump your entire pool into one effect. So a lot of people who were bitching were the caster mains who want to monopolize I win buttons. But there was the Scion in 3.0 and which was just a psychic wizard, and the psychic warrior, a Scion fighter hybrid, which again made the fighter all the more useless. And Mario says, "Oh, even if they don't have people who can do it, that doesn't mean they won't do it for the cash grab. Except, how much cash are they going to get out of it when even the 2024 books sales are down?"
Yeah, not worth doing if you're not going to get some sort of return on it.
And the thing is, doing desperation moves can... Hold on a sec. Sorry about that. There was a DC and Rece moment. But when we get to 3.5, the Psionics Handbook was replaced with the expanded Psionics Handbook, which was better because the whole psionic combat system was thrown out, just leaving the psionic system itself. Which was a smart move ultimately. There were some other things that introduced the Wilder, which was a charisma-based scion, while also having a bit of raging a la barbarians. Then we would get complete psionic, which introduced the Ardent, Divine Mind, and Lurk, which weren't exactly high up on the tier list. Then we get to 4th edition, where psionics got a whole power source all to themselves, the psychic power source, which was described as a defense mechanism the universe was creating to deal with outsiders like Illithids. Essentially, because the gate that was keeping them out was starting to fracture, and Illithids or mind flayers were coming in, the world responds by giving psychic power to certain individuals. Kind of like a white blood cell effect.
Or like the ciphers in Dungeon Fighter.
Which does make for an interesting concept. Because again, a lot of good ideas that people don't want to acknowledge coming out of 4th.
Yep.
Now, this only happened in Player's Handbook 3, which was right around the tail end before they shifted to Essentials, and Essentials sucked all the ass. But the Scion was the Psionic Controller class, so it was in the same category as the Wizard, which was the Arcane Controller, or the Invoker, which was the Divine Controller. There was never a Martial Controller class officially, though some people homebrewed one, like the Skirmisher. And it had 3 subclasses: either telepaths to do mind control, telekinesis to fling things around, or creating psionic constructs. But psychics didn't use the exact same AEDU system. Neither did the other psychic classes, Ardents and Battle Minds. Monks were technically psychic, but they didn't use the psionic system, as I mentioned a couple weeks ago. Oh, actually 3 weeks ago. but they didn't have encounter powers. Instead, they gained a third at will power and gained more at wills than anyone else. All of those at wills had ways to customize them through augmentation points, and those were recovered on an encounter basis. You didn't get as many points, but they refilled after encounters. So essentially, you got more at wills, but that point system was your encounter power. There were still encounter powers for utilities, but that's par for the course. But then we get to 5th, which at first you had the Mystic class in Unearthed Arcana, or the past version, that was meant to be a catch-all for psionics from the past. So of course, because it was an interesting idea, it didn't make any full book and was left in just Unearthed Arcana. Then somebody made a homebrew expansion of that, which was actually good. But when it came to trying to make psychics, Merles had to pull a stupid and just had a bunch of a School of Psionics subclass for wizards, arguing, oh, psychics are just wizards who cast spells with their mind instead of using an arcane artifact. This was stupid, and anyone who defends it is stupid. Because a psychic is not just a wizard with extra steps. But it's like wizards that cast spells with their mind instead of their mind. Look, that was the argument that was made at that time. I mean, the features from the subclass were fine, I guess, but the closest thing to an official psychic around that time was things like the Aberrant Mind Sorcerer from Tasha's Cauldron, but that's still a stretch.
I thought you would say that the closest thing would probably be like the Great Old One or something, because I mean it also has a lot of that psychic kind of things with Warlock. Like my Warlock was all psychic stuff, like psychic skills and everything as well.
Yeah, it's.
I would venture to say Warlock had a lot more of that before Aberrant One came out.
Yeah. Some people,
but that's that's my opinion on it. So
yeah, some people have said that the lack of psionic mechanics is part of the reason that they haven't touched Dark Sun. I think they just never will because they don't have the talent to do it. Because any talent that they do have is not working for them. Then again, there's been a hermit crab problem with 5e since day one, where they are extremely hesitant to put out full expansions and instead just put out Unearthed Arcana collections. And then in the 2024 era, they've tried again with a new Mystic, and it is a full caster class with spell slots. Lame. Even if it doesn't need verbal or somatic components, which says a lot on how the dev team views psionics.
Yep.
I.e. viewing it as an intelligence-based sorcerer who is always subtle casting. And they have thought about bringing back psionic energy dice, which we saw in the Soul Knife, but Pathfinder did make their own attempt with the Kineticist and Psionic, but they were just gimped ass versions of sorcerers. So, whoop de freaking do.
Amoth says, "What about pulling a scanners on someone's head?" Amoth.
Which they did. But you do, and I did talk about this about 3 or so years ago on an episode of Geek Watch about the claim that you can't do psionics in fantasy to be not true. I think you can do both psionics and magic in the same setting. It's just the approach of having psionics be a slightly modified version of a caster is not the way to do it.
I think it would be more like you'd want to do it more with like God, that other one that I cannot remember for the life of me, that one we did, but more like science based rather than magic based. Like, because you don't want to have it being casting. You want it to be more like it's not casting. Which, yeah, I have a whole lot of irritated opinions about psionic homebrews and everything for 5e. So,
well, I don't think 5e can even handle it, just because of the culture of the design space in both the fan side of things and elsewhere, because people want to insist on not blowing up whole swaths of the core mechanics and have a square peg in a round hole. But I
would think the only way to be able to even like do psionics without like, I think that maybe if you use something that was not spell slots, that was not, that kind of thing, maybe like a resource of some sort rather than that. It's the only way that you can start even going toward that, because it doesn't.
That's what was done.
Yeah. Like I was trying to pay attention to all of it. It was a whole lot. I had not played any. I had only read 3.5. I didn't even get to play 3.5 because every game I would try to go and fell through. So,
yeah. But most of the time they were using psionic PowerPoints.
See, I think that would work if people would actually, think about it, because like the way the homebrew that pisses me off really bad, it's called the Esper, and it pisses me off because it's just a warlock but colored differently. It's weird, and like they could just do whatever they wanted with their brain, basically. Yeah. I had to completely rewrite this homebrew class because the person who brought it in just abused my kindness, let's put it that way, of letting him bring this in.
Fair.
And I was like, if you want to play with us, then I'm going to rewrite this entire thing. And I had Sig plus 2 of our other DMs that have been DMs. Like, we all kind of work together in a way to be like, okay, this makes it more balanced, right? And I think Sig was like, I think you were the last one who saw it.
But I was like, what is this fucking horse shit?
Yeah. But we had to tone it down to the point where he was not like blowing everything up with his brain, like in one shot and all this other crap. And then he got so irritated that he couldn't do all of that he was just like, so is there any way that I could just be a warlock instead?
But the reason why 5e and just that kind of culture of D&D can't do psionics is there's 2 things that you need to do in order to make it work. One of them is you can't have them using spell slots, and the other thing is psychic effects should not overlap with existing spell effects. There should be a Great Wall of China between them, much in the same way that there's a Great Wall of China between magic and of the arcane and magic of the divine.
Mm-hmm.
Now, or even just the wall between different casting types. Now, this after that near hour-long digression, setting the stage, and I know that was lengthier than some of the other background things I've done, but with Tactician, there wasn't a whole lot to go on because Tactician is relatively new, and this is one of those things that's been around for a long while and been cursed for a long while. So I wanted to set that stage to show that is what the talent has to try and beat. Now, I think it will, given the track record of the previous classes we've seen so far, but I had to set the stage just a little bit more elaborate than I have in the past. And no, I'm not going to defend the separate combat system that was in early iterations. That was stupid. But the talent is the main one that's using psionic power. We saw a little bit of psionics within the null, but the null is basically a monk in all but name. So the talent starts with a reason score and a presence score of 2, and then you can choose one of the arrays for the remaining scores. Their potencies is based on reason. Starting stamina is 18. They gain 6 stamina at 2nd level up, and 8 recoveries. They get the psionics and read person skills, and any 2 skills from the interpersonal or lore skill groups. The quick build option is empathize, psionics, read person, and timescape. And then we have the first features. First off, you're picking a tradition. And this is another one of those cases where they list more traditions than are going to be in the book, which is unfortunate, but given how massive this book is, I can understand why they did that.
And it seems like we're following a similar vein to the Elementalist.
Mm-hmm. So the talent traditions that they bring up are Animopathy, which is messing around with souls. Chronopathy, so time bullshit. Cryokinesis, self-explanatory. Metamorphosis, which reminds me of Biomancy from Psychers in 40k. Pyrokinesis, self-explanatory. Rhizopathy, manipulating matter and space to create, alter, or displace your environment and the creatures or objects within it. That sounds like a controller build. Telekinesis, self-explanatory. And telepathy, also self-explanatory. The options that are in the core book here are chronopathy, telekinesis, and telepathy. So, time bullshit, space bullshit, mind bullshit.
Oh, chronopathy's mine.
No, chronopathy's time.
No, chronopathy is mine because I manipulate time.
The quick build option is telekinesis. Now your heroic resource is clarity. So at the start of an encounter, you gain clarity equal to your victories. Every turn afterwards, you get 1d3 clarity. The first time a creature is forced moves each combat, you get 1 clarity. You can spend clarity you don't have, pushing that heroic resource into negative numbers with a cap at 1 plus your reason score. At the end of each of your turns, you take 1 damage for each negative point of clarity. When clarity is below 0, you are strained. Some psionic abilities have additional effects if you're already strained or become strained when you use them. Strained effects can still impact you even after you're no longer strained. And at the end of the encounter, clarity resets, whether it's positive or negative. So this is new. We essentially have an overpayment mechanic.
Yeah, you go into the negatives, it kind of creates a feedback loop.
Mm-hmm. A feedback loop, and it also, I think it's encouraging pushing effects, even if though you do have to deal with the consequence, so you're dancing how far you want to push it. And you know
Yeah.
how much I love risk-reward systems in games.
Oh yeah.
So, as a range free strike, you get Mind Spike, which is a ranged attack, deals psychic damage. If you're strained, the target takes an extra 2 psychic damage, and you take 2 psychic damage that can't be reduced.
Oof.
Well,
So this is where the strain mechanics come in.
Mm-hmm. So then we have Psionic Augmentation. You pick one augmentation that you get. You can also change your augmentation and ward. We'll get to talent ward in a bit by undergoing a meditation as a respite activity. So the augmentations we have are battle augmentation. You can wear light armor and wield light weapons, even though you don't have a kit. While you wear light armor, you get +3 to stamina, and you get 3 more at 4th, 7th, and 10th levels. While you wield a light weapon, you get +1 with weapon abilities, including free strikes, and can use light armor treasures and light weapon treasures. If you have a kit, you can't take it. So this is for those who want to do a bit of psychic warrior setups. You also have density augmentation, +6 to stamina, which goes up by 6 more at 4th, 7th, and 10th levels, and +1 to stability, meaning you're harder to move. Then we have distance augmentation. Your ranged abilities get +2 to distance, so that means Mind Spike would have a range of 12. Force augmentation, +1 to roll damage. Speed augmentation, +1 to speed and the distance you can shift when you take disengage. So, and remember, you're taking 1 augmentation. And I always like that you can during downtime respec that, because it minimizes analysis paralysis. You know, where people are like, if picking this, is that going to screw me over 3 sessions down the road? And when it comes to talent ward, you pick one of the listed wards. You can change, and again, you can change ward and augmentation as a respite activity. So we have Entropy Ward. Whenever a creature deals damage to you, their speed is reduced by an amount equal to your reason score, and they can't use triggered actions until the end of their next turn.
It also slows down time for them.
Let's see, Repulsive Ward. Whenever an adjacent creature deals damage to you, you can use a free triggered action to push them a number of squares equal to your reason score. And if that's the first push, you're getting 1 point of clarity. Steel Ward. Whenever you take damage, after the damage resolves, you gain damage immunity equal to your reason score until the end of your next turn.
I'm resisting the urge to make a Steel Guard joke.
Believe me, the Steel Guard jokes flew a lot when we were designing the Sentinel for Legend Edition. Then Vanishing Ward. Whenever you take damage, you become invisible until the end of your next turn. So, with the wards, the theme is counter punching. It's just how do you do it. I do think messing around with speed would be a really good way to set up some flanking effects. Because remember, they can't move and they can't use triggered actions.
Yep.
So they take damage, you immediately go, get that motherfucker. But then we have telepathic speech. You gain the mind speech language. Additionally, you can telepathically communicate with any creatures within distance of your mind spike ability if they share a language with you and you know of each other. When you communicate with someone this way, they can respond telepathically.
That's handy.
Imagine a talent teaming up with a bunch of shadows. Especially since
That becomes an I do what I want.
apparently there are some people who do artillery builds with shadow. But you also gain two tradition features based on your choice of tradition. Phrenopathy gains Accelerate and Again. So Accelerate is a range 10 maneuver that targets yourself or one creature. Target shifts a number of squares equal to your reason score. You can spend 2 clarity and let the target use a maneuver. Or Again, range 10, targets yourself or one creature, is a triggered action. The trigger is when the target makes an ability roll. And the effect is you can use that ability after seeing the result of the triggering roll. The target must re-roll the power roll and use the new roll. It's like
Another one.
It's like, ha, I rolled a 20. And the talent is like, no, you didn't. Do it again. And then they end up rolling a 5 or something.
Shit.
But Telekinesis gates Minor Telekinesis and Repel. So Minor Telekinesis, range 10, maneuver, targets self or one size 1 creature. You slide the target a number of squares equal to your reason score. You can spend 2 or more clarity to boost the size that you can target. Or you can spend 3 clarity to vertical slide the target. Oh god, it's the return of the up button.
Oh god.
Wait. Hold on. I'm looking at again. And there's like no limit to how many times you can do that. Am I wrong?
As long as it's properly triggered.
So target makes an ability roll, and it's like, oh no, I don't like that. Do it again.
I do believe you only have so many triggered actions, so there is that limit. So it's best to use it when they roll really well.
Or really badly if it's one of your friends.
Mm-hmm. But let me, because it is a triggered action, not a free triggered action. You can only use 1 triggered action per round.
Okay.
Free triggered actions are exempt. And
I mean that's still like, you just thinking like, if they have to make an ability roll, and then you're like, oh no, gonna have you re-roll that, and then it's like, okay, well next round comes around, they do badly again. Nah, go ahead and re-roll that again. Or the other guys do really, really well. I go, yeah, I don't like that. It's like it's the thing of like every round you can be like, no, I don't feel like it. I'm not feeling that.
And you still have to be in range, of course, and they still have to do it. You're only getting it once, so.
Right, once per round though. It's just it makes me I had to look at it and read it a couple times and make sure, like, oh, is there clarity involved? Is there this involved? No, it's just that.
Yeah.
Same thing with feedback loop.
Now, Repel is a ranged psionic triggered effect. When the triggered is when the target takes damage or is force moved. The target takes half of the triggering damage, or the distance of the triggering force movement is reduced by a number of squares equal to your reason. If the target took damage and was force moved, you choose the effect. If the force movement was reduced to 0, the target can push the source of the force movement a number of squares equal to your reason score. So it's anti-force movement, and at its worst, it's reversed force movement.
Yep.
It's like, I'm gonna push you into this wall. No, you're not. You're getting pushed. A literal Uno reverse card.
Yep.
So, Then we get to the signature talent abilities, which, much like with the others, you pick 2 of these. First we have Entropic Bolt. The range 10, targets 1 creature, deals corruption damage, and inflicts slowed. The target takes an extra 1 corruption damage for each additional time they are targeted by this ability during the encounter. If you're strained, you gain 1 clarity when you obtain a tier 2 or tier 3 outcome on the power roll. So, nah. The flavor text is you advance the enemy's age for a moment.
You know, let's go.
Did we skip over the telepathy tradition features?
Yes, we did. My bad. So
No worries.
telepathy gets feedback loop and remote assistance. For a feedback loop that is range 10, triggers when the target deals damage to an ally. The target takes psychic damage equal to half the triggering damage.
So we actually have a physical feedback loop, as it were.
Mm-hmm.
I was kidding.
I think we ended up skipping that because I mentioned feedback loop, and so might have just had a momentary thing again.
As I said, you don't have to.
Let's just take back a split second. Let's just take back a step back for a split second. Let's see if things play out a little differently.
Oh. And we have remote assistance, which is not a triggered action. It is a maneuver. Range is 10, targets 1 creature. The next ability roll an ally makes against the target before the start of your next turn gains an edge. You can spend 1 clarity to target an additional creature. So, it is definitely what it sounds like. But getting back to signature abilities, the second one is Hoarfrost. Deals cold damage and inflicts slowed until end of turn, instead of save ends with Entropic Bolt. If you're strained, you are slowed until the end of your next turn. Additionally, a target slowed by this ability is restrained instead.
Oof.
Yeah, a lot of pushing the risk reward with the talent. So then we have Incinerate. Some people want to burn the world for spite, others just want to find the ignition point. So targets a 3-square cube within 10. Targets each enemy in the area, deals fire damage. A column of fire remains in the area until the start of your next turn. Each enemy who enters the area for the first time in a combat round, or starts their turn there, takes 2 fire damage. If you're strained, the size of the cube increases by 2, but the fire disappears at the end of your turn. So if you're using this power while strained, you essentially are doing a flash fire.
Mm-hmm.
Then, with Kinetic Grip, it is a range 10 effect. You are sliding. If you do the tier 3 version, it's sliding and prone.
Oh, so Ermac's power in MK3 Ultimate.
Mm-hmm. If you're strained, you must vertical push the target instead of sliding them. And I will remind everyone, including myself, that the difference between a normal push and a vertical push is a vertical push can be in a direction, including having them go up, which also means the possibility of fall damage. And of course them being prone when they take fall damage. Seeing a lot of the up button with them. Anyway, Kinetic Pulse. It's a 1-square burst. Deals psychic damage. The tier 2 and 3 pushes 1 and 2 respectively. If you are strained, the size of the burst increases by 2, and you are bleeding until the start of your next turn. Ouch.
Ow.
Then we have Materialize. Deals damage. Range is 10. Has the effect of a worthless size 1m object drops onto the target to deal the damage, then rolls onto an adjacent unoccupied space of your choice. The object is made of wood, stone, or metal, your choice. If you are strained, the object explodes after the damage is dealt, and each creature adjacent to the target takes damage equal to your reason score. You also take damage equal to your reason score that can't be reduced.
Hold that. Boom.
Oh. I feel like that would be a perfect way to introduce the anvil drop to a campaign.
Mhm.
Did we just turn this into a Looney Tunes episode? I think so.
I mean, I've already invoked the up button, so why not? Then we have Optic Blast. No, Scott, sit down. We're not talking about you.
Oh! Behold! Optic Blast!
Let's see, it deals damage and can inflict prone. When targeting an object with a solid reflective surface, or a creature carrying or wearing such an object, such as a mirror, an unpainted metal shield, or shiny metal plate armor, you can target one additional creature or object within 3 squares of the first target. If you're strained, you gain 1 surge that you can use immediately, and you take damage equal to your reason score. And Emo says mental frag grenade. Yeah, why not?
I mean, all I can think of with Optic Blast is cooler. Oh, is that your son? I'ma kill it. Don't you do it. I'ma do it.
But I will always find it funny that no matter how big that Optic Blast gets with Cyclops, it's still a concussive blast.
Mm-hmm.
Then again, getting shot with a cannonball is still technically concussive damage.
Yep. I played enough Project Warlock to know that's true.
Then we have Spirit Sword. Kuwabara, sit down. We're not talking about you.
God damn it, we're invoking Yu Yu Hakusho in this now?
Yeah.
Well, that happened.
Well, here we go.
Like it is a melee 2 attack. Interesting. So we have both Spirit Sword and Lengthened Spirit Sword.
That's longer.
Deals damage, and deals damage using presence instead of reason. Interesting. You gain 1 surge. If you're strained, the target takes an extra 3 damage, and so do you.
Ugh. Oh, so one of the talent things is presence. Okay, that makes sense then.
So, that covers the. And that Amal says next spirit gun. We already have that. It's called Mind Spike.
Yep.
Oh. Now, when it comes to a bigger spirit gun, we'll probably get that later once we get to the heroic abilities proper. So, first we have the 3 clarity abilities. The quick build option is Choke. I know some people would want me to invoke Vader with that. No, I'm invoking every sports team in Atlanta because that's what they do.
Yeah.
Look, all I have to mention is 28-3, and every sports fan in Atlanta gets a 1,000-yard stare. I could also mention the Boston Bruins.
Oh, I gotta stop laughing, otherwise I am going to choke.
Or I could always roast the Aggies again.
Yeah, but those are always good to be roasted.
Yeah. I'm not going to invoke the White Sox on that because they don't choke. They just suck.
Fair.
But so we have Awe as our first one. Range is 10, targets one creature. If you target an ally, they gain temp stamina equal to 3 times your presence, and can end one effect on them that is ended by a saving throw or that ends at the end of their turn. If it's an enemy, you make a power roll, deals psychic damage, and inflicts fright. Save ends. Oh.
Almov says, "Is Vader an Atlanta fan? Must be with how often he chokes people."
Ah.
No, he probably was playing for the Patriots because they were coached by Darth Belichick at one point.
Oh goodness!
Although, if you want to joke, look at what Belichick's doing now in the Carolinas. He is ass. But anyway, choke. Range 10.
Oh.
Deals damage and inflicts slowed at tiers 1 and 2 and restrained at tier 3. You can vertical pull the target up to 2 squares. If the target is made restrained by this ability, this forced movement ignores their stability. So even on big enemies that normally would have too much stability for you to move, you can still move them.
Again, invoking Ermac.
And we have Precognition. It's a melee 2 effect that targets self or one ally. Ability rolls made against the target take a Bane until the start of your next turn. Whenever the target takes damage while under this effect, they can use a triggered action to make a free strike against the source of the damage. And that's a interesting approach. So you're giving them a disadvantage by having them take a Bane, but it also means that you could be giving them an advantage with free strikes. Then again, it fits the flavor text of you give the target a glimpse into the future so that they're ready for what comes next. I'd say this is more of this is something you're going to be using on allies, obviously, since it's targets self or one ally. Oh, looks like a bot is there, and it's gone.
And
let's say,
it has been zapped.
I was about to say, I'll kill it.
He has not been banned?
There it is.
He has now been banned.
Oh. I usually have a bot that auto deals with that, but I guess some of them are gonna slip through at some point.
Yep.
So, anyway, then we have Smolder. Smoke flows from your enemy like tears as their skin begins to blacken and flake. Oof. You choose one
That's
damage
almost
type.
nasty.
Oh, I was thinking they were given the smolder, but I guess not.
Nope.
It's not that hot.
Choose one damage type and the weakness for this ability from one of the following: Acid, Corruption, or Fire. The target takes damage before this ability imposes any weakness. So they take damage and can potentially get inflicted with weakness 5 to that particular type of damage. At tier 3, it's 5 plus your reason score. But I could see that being particularly nasty. Then we have the 5 clarity abilities. The options we have there are Flashback. So you target yourself or one ally within range 10. The target uses an ability with a base heroic resource cost of 7 or lower that they've previously used this round without needing to spend the base cost. Augmentations to the ability can be paid for as usual. If you are strained, you take 1d6 damage and are slowed. Save ends.
So it's Groundhog Day. Again.
See, then we have Inertia Soak. Range 10, target self or one ally. The target ignores difficult terrain and takes no damage from forced movement until the start of your next turn. Whenever the target enters a square while under this effect, they can push one adjacent creature up to a number of squares equal to your reason score. When pushing an ally, the target can ignore that ally's stability. A creature can only be forced moved this way once per turn. If you're strained, you're inflicted with weakened, save ends. While you're weakened this way, whenever you are force moved, the force movement distance gains a +5 bonus.
Oof. That's actually pretty nasty and great cost to you.
Mm-hmm. So then we have Iron. Range 10, targets yourself or one ally. The target's stability increases by an amount equal to your reason score, and they gain 10 temporary stamina and 2 surges. This stability increase lasts until the target no longer has temp stamina from this ability.
So it's Iron Eyes from Dragon Quest.
Yep. If you're strained, you can't use maneuvers. Save ends.
Yeah, you couldn't do much of anything while you were Iron Eyes in Dragon Quest either, so that makes sense.
And we have Perfect Clarity. Range 10, targets yourself or one ally. Until the start of your next turn, the target gains a +3 bonus to speed, and they have a double edge on the next power roll they make. If the target obtains a tier 3 outcome on that roll, you gain 1 clarity. If you're strained, you take 1d6 damage and you can't use triggered actions. Save ends. So this is I think we're seeing where strained really is coming into play when it comes to heroic actions. Not heroic, because yeah, you can overspend, but you are going to be paying for it one way or the other.
Yep.
But then we get to second level. At second level, you get a perk. You also get a feature from your tradition. Chronopathy gets Ease the Hours. You can increase the number of rounds in a montage test by 1 if the test would end before the heroes hit the success limit. Nice.
Yep. I like that.
Telekinesis gets Ease Their Fall. Whenever you would land after a fall, or if any falling creature lands within 2 squares of you, you can use a free triggered action to reduce the falling damage by an amount equal to 2 plus your reason score. And when it comes to fall damage, fall damage is I believe. We'll end up looking at it in more detail later, but I believe it's 2 damage per square that you would fall. And yeah, it is 2 damage per square, to a maximum of 50 damage. And when you and after you fall, you land prone. You can reduce it based on agility, and falling into liquid that's 1 square or more deep reduces the height of the fall by 4 squares as far as how much damage you take. So that's the reason to abuse vertical push is fall damage and prone.
Mm-hmm.
But telepathy gets Ease the Mind. You gain an edge on tests made to stop combat and start a negotiation. Additionally, if you are present during a negotiation, any NPC who has a hostile or suspicious starting attitude has their patience increased by 1 to a maximum of 5. We'll come back to that when we get to how negotiations work, but that's going to be much later. You also get a tradition ability. So Chronopathy gets Applied Chronometric, either Applied Chronometrics or Slow. Both of these are 5 clarity abilities. Applied Chronometrics, range 10, is a maneuver which you can target 2, 3, or 4 creatures, one of which can be you. Until the start of your next turn, each target gains a +5 bonus to speed. They can't be made dazed, and they can use an additional maneuver on their turn. If a target is already dazed, that condition ends. If you're strained, your speed is halved until the end of the encounter. Which, ouch. But then for slow, it is a target. It's on range 10. Targets 3 creatures or objects. At tier 1, the target's speed is halved, or if under weak potency, the target is slowed. If tier 2, the target is slowed, or the target speed is 0. And at tier 3, the target is slowed, or the target speed is 0. And of course, save ends on all 3. A target can't use triggered actions while their speed is reduced this way. If you are strained, the potency increases by 1, and you take 1d6 damage. At the start of each combat round, while any target is affected by this ability, you take 1d6 damage. You can end the effect on all affected targets at any time with no action. Like I said, if you're under strained, if you overpay for effects, you are going to be paying for it.
Mm-hmm.
But some of them are kind of worth the risk. I can see slow being used a lot,
Excuse me.
particularly against like bigger skirmishes.
Yeah, or speedy boys who keep shifting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Looking at you, 4E kobolds. But telekinesis can get either gravitic burst or levity and gravity. The former deals damage in a 1 square burst and inflicts vertical push 2, 4, or 6. If you're strained, the size of the burst increases by 1, and you are weakened until the end of your turn. Levity and Gravity ranges 10, targets 1 creature, deals damage, and either inflicts prone or prone and can't stand. If you're strained, you take half the damage the target takes. Oops. Oh. My mouse wheel is a little bit sensitive there. Telepathy gets either Overwhelm or Synaptic Override. The former deals psychic damage and inflicts slowed, weakened, or dazed, depending on the tier. If you're strained, you start crying and can't use triggered actions or make free strikes until the end of the target's next turn. And it makes sense given the flavor text. You overload their senses, turning all their subconscious thoughts into conscious ones.
Mm-hmm.
And Synaptic Override. Range 10, targets 1 enemy. At tier 1, the target makes a free strike against 1 enemy of your choice. At tier 2, the target shifts up to their speed and uses their signature ability against any enemies of your choice. And same with tier 3, the target moves up to their speed and uses their signature ability against any enemies of your choice. I know someone might look at the tier 3 and go, what's the difference? If they're moving instead of shifting, that could trigger free strikes. But you control the target's movement. The target can't be moved in a way that would harm them, such as over a cliff, leave them dying, or result in them suffering a condition or other negative effects. However, you can move them to provoke opportunity attacks. If you're strained, you take 1d6 damage and are weakened until the end of your turn. Synaptic Override I can see being particularly nasty in a way of forcing a kicking circle if they're flanked. But then at 3rd level, you get Scan, for starters. Once on each of your turns, you can search for hidden creatures as a free maneuver. Additionally, once you establish line of effect to a thinking creature within a distance of your Mind Spike ability, you always have that line of effect to that creature until they move beyond that distance.
So it's a lock-on.
Mm-hmm. Also means that if they go, I'm behind cover, you can't hit me with Mind Spike. Yes, I can.
The hell I can't!
But you also get a 7 clarity ability. So the first one we have is Fling Through Time. Forcing them to witness every moment of their existence all at once. Damn.
Jeez.
Range 10.
Literally flashing their life before their eyes.
Targets 1 creature. So it deals damage and weakened for tier 1. Tier 2, the target is flung through time, and if it's under average potency, they are weakened. Save ends. Tier 3, flung through time if they're below strong. If they are below strong potency, then weakened. Save ends. A target who is flung through time is removed from the encounter map until the end of their next turn, reappearing in their original space or nearest unoccupied space. If you are strained, you take 2d6 damage and permanently grow visibly older, the equivalent of 10 years for a human. If you have a tier 3 outcome of the power roll, you gain 2 clarity.
Good lord.
And Amov goes, Amov, if you're gonna do it, you gotta do it right. How about the power to kill a yak from 300 miles away? With mind bullets! That's telekinesis, Kyle. Getting back to sanity, we have force orbs. Target self, you create 3 size 1 tiny orbs that orbit your body. Each orb gives you a cumulative damage immunity 1. Each time you take damage, you lose 1 orb. Once on each of your turns, you can use a free maneuver to fire an orb at a creature or object within 5 squares as a ranged strike, losing the orb after the strike. Deals 2, 3, or 5 damage. If you're strained, you can create 5 orbs, and you are weakened while you have any orbs active.
Reminds me of one of Lord Slug's abilities from Xenoverse 2. Only he can only create 2 of those.
Yep. So damage immunity 1 is going to be this means that you have that while you have them up, you have damage immunity 3, which is decent, especially at 3rd level. Then we have Reflector Field. It is a 3-square aura. This aura lasts until the start of your next turn. Whenever an enemy targets an ally in the area with a ranged ability, the ability is negated on the ally and reflected back on the enemy. The ability deals half damage to the enemy that it would have dealt to the ally and loses any additional effects. If you're strained, the size of the aura increases by 1. Whenever your aura reflects an ability, you take 2d6 damage and forget a memory, as determined by you and the director.
Ah, Aegis Reflector.
Then we have Soul Burn. You blast their soul out of their body, leaving it to helplessly float back to a weakened husk. Deals damage, inflicts dazed. The target takes a Bane on Presence test until the end of the encounter. If you are strained, the potency of this ability increases by 1. You take 2d6 damage and gain 3 surges that you can use immediately.
I feel profoundly ripped off because this sounds like an ability that the Null would have, considering the artwork and all.
But then we have the stuff at 4th level. Your reason and presence go up to 3. You also get mind projection. You can project your mind outside your body. While you're in this state, your body is unconscious and prone, and your mind is a separate entity with size 1 tiny. Your mind automatically has concealment and can freely move through solid matter. If you end your turn inside solid matter, you are forced out into the space where you entered it. Any abilities or features you use originate from your mind. Both your mind and your body can take damage while separated, and any such damage applied to your stamina. Your mind is instantly forced back into your body if you take any damage, and you can immediately return to your body as a free maneuver. So, good old projection. It also means you could probably mentally sneak attack somebody.
Maybe. I don't know.
But you also get mind recovery. When you use a recovery to regain stamina while strained, you can forego the stamina and gain 3 clarity instead. And the first time each combat round a creature is force moved, you get 2 clarity instead of 1. You also get 1 free perk of your choice. and one skill of your choice, as well as Suspensor Field. You can fly. While flying, your stability is 0 and can't be increased. If you can already fly, you get +2 to speed while flying. If you are strained while flying and are forced move, the forced movement gets +2.
So Jean Grey.
Like you can fly, but best pray you don't get hit by the Juggernaut. So it is essentially making it 0G for you. But at 5th level, you gain another tradition feature. Chronopathy gains distortion and distortion temporal and speed of thought. So distortion temporal, while you are not dying, time behaves irregularly around you in a 3 square aura. That area is difficult terrain for enemies. Additionally, when an ally enters the area for the first time in a combat round or starts their turn there, they get +2 to speed until the end of the turn. And speed of thought, once per combat while you're not dying, you can spend 2 clarity when you use a triggered action to turn it into a free triggered action. So this is the inroad for Tabby to abuse that do-over thing we saw at the start.
So what you're telling me, is that we can step back a split second to see if things play out a little differently.
Another
Yeah,
one.
just be careful with abusing it, because remember, strained is even if there's no strain effect to an action, you're still taking damage when strained resets. It's just with some of these effects you might be taking more damage. Then we have Triangulate. Whenever an ally uses a ranged ability while you are within the ability's distance, you can spend 1 clarity as a free trigger. Wait, that's for something else. Sorry. The thing's hanging. I don't know what's going on there. Technology likes to give us the middle finger. There we go. So Telekinesis gets Kinetic Amplifier and Triangulate. So Kinetic Amplifier, whenever you force move a creature, you can spend up to 2 surges. For each surge spent, the force movement distance gains a bonus equal to your reason. Your reason at this point is going to be 3. So that's a decent amount of extra movement in addition to whatever force movement you're inflicting. But Triangulate, whenever an ally uses a ranged ability while you are within the ability's distance, you can spend 1 clarity as a free triggered action to allow them to use the ability as if they were in your space. That is something that's going to be really useful for people who like to manipulate the environment. Which, of course, is why it's in Telekinesis.
Mm-hmm.
And Telepathy gives you Compulsion and remote amplification. Compulsion, whenever you obtain a success on a test using a skill from the interpersonal skill group, while interacting with an NPC, you can ask them a question using your telepathic speech feature. The NPC must answer the question truthfully to the best of their ability. So, Jedi Mind Trick. And remote amplification.
You don't want to sell me death sticks.
I don't want to sell you death sticks.
You want to go home and rethink your life.
I want to go home and rethink my life.
Remote amplification has it that the distance of your ranged psionic abilities increases by 5. Additionally, the range of your telepathic speech feature increases to 1 mile.
So it's basically a Wi-Fi extender.
This cat's driving me up the wall. I apologize.
Which one?
The one who's attached to me at the hip.
Do you have any idea how little that narrows it down?
The red one.
At 5th level, you also gain a 9 clarity ability. So we have Exothermic Shield. Range is 10, targets self or one ally. Until the start of your next turn, the target has cold immunity 10 and fire immunity 10. And their strikes deal extra fire damage equal to twice your reason score. Additionally, whenever an enemy attempts to use a melee ability against the target while they are under the effect, the enemy takes 5 fire damage. If you're strained, the target gains 2 surges. You are weakened and slowed. Save ends.
Ugh.
Then we have Hypersonic, which has an effect has an AoE of 5 times 2 line within 1. Targets each enemy in the area. You teleport to a square on the opposite side of the area before making the power roll. Can deal a lot of sonic damage. And if you're strained, if you obtain a tier 2 outcome or better, you are slowed until the end of your turn, and each target is slowed until the end of their turn.
Okay, so we went from Looney Tunes to Dragon Ball Z.
Let's see, we have Mind Snare, where you latch onto your raised brain and don't let go. Mind grappling. Like a song they can't get out of their head. Oh god, you're inflicting Baby Shark on them.
No, not going there. I refuse.
To this day, I still find it amusing that that song was played on loop in a prison so much that it was considered inhumane. I wish I was kidding.
And then someone made a metal song out of it.
Of course, you can make that out of anything. What would be really
Yep.
worst if someone made an Argent metal song out of it.
Oh god.
Which, that might sound extreme, but remember, we got an Argent metal version of the bus music.
Oh.
Because Mick Gordon asked for it.
Okay. Mick, why?
No one knows. Anyway,
If
Mind
I
Snare.
turn down.
Range is 10, targets one creature.
I think that Mildred needs to have my tea.
And whenever it always acts like I'm asleep. It always acts like I'm asleep when I'm drinking something because of the camera. I didn't fall asleep, people. I was just drinking tea.
But was it good tea?
Yep. So, of course, McGord is the one free man. Voluntary yoga. Yeah. So, Mind Snare deals psychic damage and inflicts slowed. While slowed in this way, the target takes 3 psychic damage for each square they willingly leave. And if you are strained, while slowed this way, the target instead takes 5 psychic damage for each square they willingly leave. You have a double bane on ability rolls made against the target while they are slowed this way. Since the slowed is based on saves, depending on how they roll, you might be slowed for a while. But then we have Soulbound. It's a range 10 effect. Targets 2 enemies. Deals damage, and the target is stitched to the other target. If any target becomes stitched to the other, both targets are stitched together. While stitched together, a target takes a bane on power rolls while not adjacent to a creature they're stitched to. Whenever a stitched target takes damage that wasn't dealt dealt by or also taken by another Stitch creature, Stitch target. Each other Stitch target takes half the damage of the initial target took. Oh. If you're strained, you target yourself and 3 enemies instead.
I almost wanted to say this was Destiny Bond, but it doesn't quite fit.
No. But then at 6th level, you gain either an interpersonal, lore, or supernatural perk. You also get Psi Boost. Whenever you use an ability that is a main action or a maneuver with the psionic keyword, you can spend an additional clarity to apply a Psi Boost to it and enhance its effects. A Psi Boost effects only last until the end of the turn which the ability is first used. You can apply multiple Psi Boosts to an ability, but only one instance of each specific boost. You can use the following Psi Boosts. So we have Dynamic Power, not to be confused with Dynamic Entry. Spends 1 clarity. If the ability force moves a target, the force movement distance gains a bonus equal to your reason. Expanded Power, 3 clarity. If the ability targets an area, you can increase the size of the area by 1. If the area is aligned, you can increase the size of 1 dimension, not both. Extended Power, 1 clarity. If the ability is ranged, the distance gains a bonus equal to your reason score. If it's melee, the distance gains a +2 bonus. Heightened Power, 1 clarity. If the ability deals rolled damage, it deals extra damage equal to your reason score. Magnified Power, 5 clarity. If the ability has a potency, you increase that potency by an amount equal to your reason. Shared Power, 5 clarity. If the ability targets individual creatures or objects, you target 1 additional creature or object within distance. And Sharpened Power, 1 clarity. If the ability has any power roll, that roll gains an edge.
So psychic metamagic.
Yep. It's interesting that you're effectively getting meta magic this late, but let's bring that along with what we've seen already with strength. So you also get one of 2 heroic abilities based on your tradition. Chronopathy gets either Fate or Stasis Field. Fate is a melee 2 that targets 1 enemy. The target has damage weakness 5 until the end of your next turn. Whenever the target takes damage while they have this weakness, they are knocked prone. If you're strained, the ability gets the strike keyword as the vision hurts the target's psyche. You make a power roll and then are weakened. And that power roll will deal psychic damage. But Stasis Field is a 4-square cube within 10. Targets each creature and object in the area. The area is frozen in time until the start of your next turn. Each object in the area is restrained and can't fall until the effect ends. Until the effect ends, creatures in the area who are reduced to 0 stamina or would die stay alive, and objects in the area that are reduced to 0 stamina remain undestroyed. You make a power roll that targets each enemy in the area. So they're either slowed until the effect ends, their target speed is 0 until the effect ends, or the target is restrained until the effect ends. If you are strained, any creature or object force moved in the area takes 2 corruption damage for each square of the area they enter. Creatures and objects restrained in the area can be force moved. You are restrained until the effect ends.
I'm stop.
Yep. Telekinesis gets either Gravitic Well or Greater Kinetic Grip. So Gravitic Well, it's a 4-square cube within 10, targets each enemy and object in the area, deals damage, and does vertical pull towards the center of the area. Targets closest to the center of the area are pulled first. If you're strained, the size of the area increases by 2. You also target yourself and each ally within distance.
Good lord.
Or Greater Kinetic Grip. Range 10. Targets 1 creature. Inflicts slide. And the force movement is vertical if potency triggers. At tier 3, it also inflicts prone. If you're strained, the force movement ignores stability, and you take 2d6 damage and are weakened.
So it's pressing the up button twice.
Telepathy gets either synaptic conditioning or synaptic dissipation. The former is a melee 2 effect that deals psychic damage. At tier 1, the target takes a bane on ability rolls made to harm you or allies. At tier 2, they take a double bane. At tier 3, the target considers you and your allies to be their allies when using abilities and features. Save ends on all 3 of them. If you're strained while the target is under this effect, you no longer consider your enemies to be your enemies when using your abilities and features. Which, ow. Whereas Synaptic Dissipation, range is 10. You target a number of creatures with this ability determined by the outcome of your power roll. You and your allies are invisible to each target until the start of your next turn. So, 2 creatures, 3 creatures, or 5 creatures. If you're strained, the effect ends early if you take damage from an enemy's ability. Interesting setup there.
Yeah.
So at 7th level, you get Ancestral Memory. Each time you finish a respite, you can choose a number of skills you have up to your reason score and replace them with an equal number of skills from the interpersonal and lore skill groups. These replacements last until the end of your next respite. You get skill respecking. You also get Cascading Strain. Whenever you take damage from a strained effect or from having negative clarity, you can choose one enemy within distance of your Mind Spike ability to take the same damage. So sharing the pain when it comes to being strained.
So spread the pain to others.
Each of your characteristics goes up by 1 to a max of 4. You also get Lucid Mind. So instead of 1d3 clarity, you get 1d3 plus 1. You also get 1 skill of your choice. And at 8th level, you get a perk. You get 2 new tradition features. So Chronopathy gets Doubling the Hours and Stasis Shield. Doubling the Hours, while you have 5 or more victories, you can undertake an additional respite activity during a respite. So literally doubling the hours. And Stasis Shield is a 3 clarity effect. It's range 10, targets yourself or one creature. Triggers when the target takes damage. The target is teleported to an unoccupied space adjacent to you, taking no damage and suffering no additional effects if this movement would get them out of harm's way. If you're strained, you can't target yourself, and you take the damage and any additional effects instead of the target. So you can either get somebody out of the way or take the hit. Telekinesis gets Levitation Field and Low Gravity. Levitation Field is a maneuver, 3 square burst, targets each ally. Each target can fly until the start of your next turn and can immediately shift up to their speed. You can also shift up to your speed. While flying, a target's stability is reduced to 0 and can't be increased. If you spend 5 clarity, the effects last for 1 hour instead. Which, very nice. And as far as low gravity, you ignore difficult terrain and don't need to spend additional movement while prone. I was like, oh, you knocked me prone. I'll just float right back up.
Yep.
And Telepathy gets Mind Link and Universal Connection. The Mind Link during a respite, you can choose a number of creatures up to your Reason score who you have communicated with using your telepathic speech feature, creating a link among all of you. Whenever a linked creature spends 1 or more recoveries, each other linked creature can spend a recovery. Nice. And Universal Connection, the range of your telepathic speech feature increases to anywhere on the same world.
Oh God.
That's a thing.
Mm-hmm. You also gain a 11 clarity ability. So we have Doubt. Range is 10, targets one creature, deals damage and inflicts weakened. At tier 3, it's weakened and slowed. The ability gains an edge against the target with a soul. After you make
Your
the power
mic cut out.
It has an edge if the target has a soul. After you make the power roll, you or one ally within distance have a double edge on the next power roll you make before the end of the encounter. If you're strained, you feel dispirited until you finish a respite. If you obtain a tier 3 outcome on the power roll, you and the target each have damage weakness 5, save ends. Which, again, you get strained, you will be paying for it.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have Mind Wipe, which is a melee 2 effect. Deals damage, and the target takes a Bane on their next power roll, except for tier 3, where they take a double Bane. Also, the target can't communicate with anyone until the end of the encounter. If you do this, if you're strained, you take 3d6 damage. Then we have Rejuvenate. Range 10, target self or one ally. Choose 2 of the following effects. The target can spend any number of recoveries. They gain 1 of their heroic resource and can end any effect on them that's ending by a saving throw or end of turn. They gain 2 surges and a +3 bonus to speed until the end of the encounter. If you're strained, you and the target both permanently grow visibly younger, the equivalent of 20 human years, to the minimum of an 18-year-old. Additionally, you are weakened and slowed.
Makes sense considering using that level of power would really exhaust you.
Then we have Steel. No, John Henry Irons, we're not talking about you. The target has... It's a range 10. Target self or one ally. The target has damage immunity 5 and can't be made slowed or weakened until the start of your next turn. Whenever the target force moves a creature or object while under this effect, the force movement distance gains a +5 bonus. If you're strained, you can't use maneuvers.
So flesh to metal?
It's covered in tough metal. And I should, instead of using steel, I should have been using Colossus. Because that's basically what we've got here.
Yep.
Oh. Then at 9th level, you gain Fortress of Perfect Thought. Your mind is an impenetrable palace that shields you from danger. You gain the following effects. You can breathe even when there is no breathable air. You have Psychic Immunity 10. Creatures can't read your thoughts unless you allow them to. Your reason and intuition are treated as 2 higher for the purposes of resisting the potency of abilities. You can't be made taunted or frightened. It's like, I can read your mind. No, you can't.
No, you can't.
So you also gain a heroic ability from your tradition. Chronopathy gets either Acceleration Field or Borrow from the Future. Acceleration Field is a ranged 5 effect that targets 3 allies. Each target can use any main action available to them as a free triggered action, but they lose their main action on their next turn. If you're strained, you make a power roll that targets you and each enemy within distance. That power roll deals damage and inflicts corruption damage and inflicts slowed. Or Borrow from the Future, which is a 2-square burst, targets each ally in the area. The targets share 6 of their heroic resource among themselves, as you determine. A target can't gain more than 3 of their heroic resource this way. After using this ability, you can't gain any clarity until the end of the next combat round.
You can borrow from the future, but eventually somebody's got to pay.
Yeah. That seems to be the theme where you can push your luck, but you are going to be paying for it.
Yep.
Telekinesis gets Fulcrum and Gravitic Nova. Fulcrum.
I have that gun in Destiny.
Yep. With Fulcrum, range is special, targets each enemy and object in the area. Make a power roll to determine the area of this ability. Each target is vertical pushed 6 squares. You can only target objects of size 1L or smaller. So it's either a 2, 3, or 4 square burst. If you're strained, you can choose to reduce the size of the burst by 2 to a minimum of 1 to give the forced movement distance a +2 bonus. You take half the total damage all targets take from forced movement. So if we're dealing with 8 squares of vertical pushing, that's 16 damage that you end up. That would be not 16 damage. That would be 8 damage you'd end up taking straight per target. You take half the total damage all targets take from forced movements. So. If you're not paying for it, you will be paying for it. Then we have Gravitic Nova. 3 square burst, targets each enemy and object in the area. Deals damage and push. On a critical hit, the size of the area increases by 3, and this ability does an additional 10 damage. If you're strained, you are weakened. If you scored a critical hit with the ability, you die.
Ouch!
Oh.
This is basically Force Repulse from Force Unleashed.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say on steroids, but you've seen how Starkiller fights in that game.
I mean, he takes down a fucking Star Destroyer.
But Telepathy gets the option of Resonant Mind Spike and Synaptic Terror. Resonant Mind Spike deals psychic damage, ignores cover and concealment, range 10. If you're strained, the ability roll scores a critical hit on a natural 17 or higher. You take half the damage the target takes, and you can't reduce this damage. Which, that's gonna be nasty.
So it's Mind Spike, but more.
Yep. Although maybe Spirit Bomb with Mind Spike might be more accurate given the flavor text. You fire a telepathic bolt empowered by every consciousness within reach directly into your foe's mind. But then we have Synaptic Terror. It's a 3 square burst, targets each ally and enemy within the area. You and each target ally can't obtain lower than a tier 2 outcome on power rolls until the start of your next turn. Each target enemy is affected by the ability's power roll, which inflicts Frightened. If you're strained, you can't use this ability if doing so would cause you to have negative clarity. And then we get to 10th level. Your Reason and Presence scores go up to 5. You get Clear Mind, so the first time that an enemy is forced move, you get 3 clarity. You also get Omnisensory. You have a +10 bonus to the distance of your ranged abilities. Additionally, you don't need line of effect to a target of a ranged ability if the target is a creature capable of thought who you have previously had line of effect to.
Basically, you could cover the entire map.
You get 1 interpersonal, lore, or supernatural perk. You get Scion. At the start of each of your turns during combat, you get 1d3 + 2 clarity. Additionally, you can choose to not take damage from having negative clarity. You can also choose to take on any ability strained effect, even if you're not strained. You get one skill of your choice, and you get your epic resource, Vision. No, Vision, sit down. We're not talking about you. Go back to getting chased by Wanda or something.
Or getting the Mind Stone ripped out of your head.
So Vision is their epic resource. Each time you finish a respite, you gain Vision equal to the XP you gain. You can spend Vision as if it were Clarity. Additionally, you can spend Vision to use one additional psionic ability on your turn, provided you pay the entire cost of the ability in Vision. If you choose to use a psionic ability that usually costs no Clarity, you must spend one Vision to use it. Vision remains until you spend it.
I am disappointed that the borrow from the future is not I can see the future. I'm just saying.
I can see the future.
Yep, you got it.
So that is the talent. And before I get into my thoughts on it, what do you guys think of the talent as a class?
I can see the
I've
future.
never seen anything like it, but I certainly appreciate it. I wish they kind of went into the pyrokinesis part of it, because if I do play like a psionic class, I like fire. What can I say?
See, I'm glad that they went into a time mage, if you will, like not mage, but like a time class, if you will, because I just I like time. I like playing with time. And I think the things that they did with the time was good. They were good abilities. They were, and honestly, like this class, yeah, there was a whole lot of oh my god moments of like how much damage they can do or what they can do, and especially the strained thing. But like the strained thing, if I'm being honest, it almost balances this class almost the most out of all of them. Because of that strain and because of your risk reward and because of everything on there. Like the rest of them are like, well, once you get to this point, you're super OP. Like, and the talent, there's like, well, are you though? Because you can still die.
You still are some level of epic depending on how much XP you get. Because remember, in order to get XP, you have to do victories.
I also feel like with Tactician, how it aids more the. I feel like it aids more the melee classes. This is like the support for like casters.
I also feel this is another support for supporting for. I feel it's a support for all classes more so than just the arcane, because of certain like. Well, Chronomancy would be more for like melee, but because of some of the things that it does to make it so, oh, now I can flank, now I can do all the stuff for shadows, I can do this. So
yeah, and fortunately, you can't overspend too much because because at the highest the negative cap is 6. That does, however, mean that you're taking 6 damage for each turn, and that damage is not that damage is not reset, and 2, negative clarity sticks around until you pay it back. It's not a case where that negative clarity is resetting at the start of your next turn. So again, you're either paying for it or you are paying for it.
Which I kind of like that. I like the risk reward. I think that it's like I was thinking whenever we first started looking at it, I was thinking the idea of somebody essentially disappearing into time or something like that, especially when I saw the time stuff. And like then you see the gravitic nova, and you're just like, even though I know that's telekinesis, but I'm looking at it going, well, There it is, right there. You may not disappear, you die, but it's like still it has that feel to it of where you overspend and you die, you disappear, you become become one with the psychic force. I don't know.
Yeah, I would say. Well, first off, Sig, what did you think?
I absolutely love this whole thing. Like I said, I wish they had explored more on the pyrokinesis part because, like I said, I like fire.
Yeah, I have a feeling. I have a feeling that sometime in the future we are going to see we're going to see an expansion to Book 1 of Draw Steel that is going to be covering a bunch of those. I know it'd be tempting to say, why didn't they have all of them here? I think they wanted each of the classes to have 3 subclasses for one, and 2. Given how involved the subclasses are in all of the classes we've seen thus far, this isn't going to be as easy as, say, making a subclass for the world's most litigious role-playing game.
Yeah.
Because you end up having you had 2 features at level 1. You gain additional features every few levels, and additional powers. So the subclass is less of a 5e style subclass and more of the way specializations worked in 4th. From what I'm seeing, because of how more involved they are. And I remember when say martial power came out for 4th edition, you had an additional specialization for each of the martial classes at the time, and a bunch of features that cascaded off of those specializations. It's not exactly the same here because we're dealing with 10 levels instead of 30. But the level of involvement isn't too far off. But the talent is most definitely is definitely more for people who want to do artillery build. I mean, you can do melee combat, but I feel like melee combat for this is more of a backup than something you're going to be focusing a lot of. And even then, a lot of the melee stuff is melee 2, meaning you don't want to get real close.
Especially considering that if you have a kit, like it says, with battle augmentation at level 1, if you take a kit, you can't take that augment, and yeah, I don't think it'd be worth it to do that in that case, to build it around physical combat.
And remember, you start with 18 stamina. So you are kind of on the squishy side. I mean, it's only slightly lower than, say, the tactician, but it is still less, and you are getting less HP as you level up, unless you really focus in on it. And obviously, you're not getting as much availability when it comes to kits. Like you might get some light melee and armor if you take that option, but compared to people who are getting full kits, you're going to be somewhat outclassed. And when it comes to, and yes, you can dual wield light weapons, but it's not like you're gonna be able to do a healthy amount of damage. Like I said, it's more of a backup. It seems to me that the ideal way to play talent is hang back and mess around with the whole battlefield. This is very much a successor to the 4E Scion, who was a controller. The talent here is most definitely a controller. Some talent builds more than others. I'd say the telekinesis talent is definitely a controller.
For sure.
In terms of manipulating the battlefield. The other ones are a bit of a controller as well, just in different ways. Namely, messing around with folk. And I think it makes sense that instead of doing one clarity per round, it's doing 1d3, because you really want that 3 clarity so that you can either get enough to pay for your abilities or get enough to pay off your debt. And so you know how we talked about earlier the issue with psionics being just gimped versions of mages?
Yep.
That is definitely not a problem. That is definitely not the problem here.
No, absolutely not.
The main mage that we've seen so far has been like the elementalist, which, you know, the way that they're working is certainly not going to be the way that any of the other casting approaches we've seen are going to work. There's no real, because of the fact that everybody has their list of abilities, there's no way to really have that kind of overlap unless you are intentionally doing multi-classing, and that comes with its own drawbacks. Which we've seen plenty throughout this. I do think it'd be interesting if you have a talent alongside some shadows or even a null. But next week we will be getting to the final class in Drawsteel. That being the Troubadour.
I'm actually kind of excited for this one.
Yeah, the Troubadour is very much this game's version of a bard. And bards have had their interesting history. This does mean that when I do the history lesson, I'm gonna have to bring up how the bard became the seduce the dragon meme. I think that
was even before 5e.
Yeah, I don't know when that meme started. I'd like to say A Bard's Tale was an influence, but I can't for certain say that. But bards have been one of those archetypes that has a nice theme, but the mechanics of it have had some problems. Especially given the inspirations, which are skalds and Celtic priests, which has prompted the question of why not just play a priest or cleric in this case. Priest is in a better game than the world's most litigious role-playing game.
Indeed.
And I know some people say 5e bards don't suck as much. Nope, still do.
No. That's one of my babies, the bard.
I know a lot of people have it as their baby, and to that I say it is a free country and you are free to be wrong. I will simply say in the past bards were worse. Oh boy, when we get into the pre-3E era of bards. Prepare for bullshit. Is it going to be as much bullshit as what we saw with the Scion? No. But less bullshit does not mean no bullshit. So that's something to keep an eye out for next week. I will note that I actually have the next 3 weeks all lined up as far as scheduling goes,
Excellent.
which is a rare thing. Of course, it also means if I have to do anything, if there's anything that gets added to that, I'm going to have to creatively adjust. But there's gonna be plenty that is going to be very interesting. And I look forward to bringing up the Bard and all of the insanity therein. And of course, tomorrow is more of the Cloister.
Yeah.
And given the video by a certain idiot, I may make some steps to try and do some coverage of the world of Gaia. But that is in the very early planning stages, and I don't foresee myself doing that until maybe next year. Things are way too packed as it is right now. But with that said, as always, a sincere thanks goes out to everyone who took the time out of their schedule to come all the way to the monastery and enjoy the madness that happens here. And there will be plenty more where that came from, as there always is here, on the open bar of the internet. But until then, on behalf of the good brothers present and not present, my name is Mildra, I am your gaming monk. Stay fucking frosty, everybody!
See you on the trail.
Oh.